people used to think that children were just miniature versions of adults, and that they thought in pretty much the same way. But then this guy Piaget came along, and he figured out that children actually reason quite differently. In fact, he believed that children are actively constructing their understanding of the world as they grow, so that as their bodies grow, their minds grow as well. And he thought that this happened generally in different stages. So I want to tell you about Piaget's 4 stages of cognitive development.
This video is on Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development. I'm Brian Collin. Are you tired of using Quizlet to study? Check out Learn My Test at www.learnmytest.com and create an account for free. It helps you build your own tests without having to write a single question. Check it out. A schema is any concept or idea of how the world works. So for example, your schema for a car may have a steering wheel, which is what turns the car, and a speedometer, which tells you how fast you're going, and maybe a car seat. All these things are incorporated into your schema of a car. Assimilation is taking a new experience and incorporating that into an existing schema. So for example, if you're a child learning what a car is and you see a truck or a van, you might notice that the car, vans, and trucks have 4 wheels, and you may call a van or a truck a car too. The child may learn eventually that a van has a little bit more space than a regular car, and a truck, unlike a car, has a truck bed. When a child learns to differentiate, say, a truck or a van from a car or sedan, the process of changing or altering that schema is known as accommodation. Piaget believed that children really learn from interacting with their environment. And conceptually, Piaget believed that real learning takes place when new experiences are being assimilated into pre-existing schemas, or when pre-existing schemas are being accommodated to fit that new experience. Piaget's theory is a discontinuous stage theory, which means that all children go through the same stages in the same order. A child goes through one stage at a time, and a child cannot regress from one stage into a prior stage. The 4 stages of Piaget's cognitive developmental theory are stage 1, the sensory motor stage, stage 2, the pre-operational stage, stage 3, the concrete operational stage, and stage 4, the formal operational stage. Stage 1 is the sensory motor stage and occurs from birth to 2. Substage 1 of the sensory motor stage is a child's reflexes, and reflexes are innate reactions that a child's born with that help him or her survive. For example, the rooting reflex is how a child knows to suck or make sucking motions on a bottle or his mother's breast to be able to get food. Circular reactions are repeated acts that are not intended to accomplish a goal. When a child is doing them within his or her own body, not an object, it's called a primary circular reaction, which happens from 1 to 4 months. Secondary circular reaction is when a child repeats the same action with an object, such as a toy, without an intended goal. And secondary circular reactions generally start when the child is between 4 to 8 months. Coordination of secondary circular reactions are when a baby learns to accomplish a goal. For example, Jack pushing an object out of the way to get to his favorite toy, the sand shovel, is an example of the coordination of secondary circular reaction. Tertiary circular reactions are when a child can reverse what he accomplished prior. So for example, if Jack digs a hole to make a sandcastle and then decides that he wants to put all the sand from his castle back into the hole and pot it, that would be an example of a tertiary circular reaction. Let's just say that Jack's dad puts his favorite toy car under a blanket. Will Jack know to remove the blanket to get his favorite toy, or will he just sit there confused? If Jack knows to remove the blanket to get his toy, Jack will have established what's called object permanence. Object permanence is an important part of the child being able to transition from the sensory motor to the pre-operational stage. Object permanence is really important in a broader sense because a child realizes that objects can exist in the environment without them being able to be seen. Stage 2 is the pre-operational stage and occurs from ages 2 to 7 years. Children in the pre-operational stage have beliefs sometimes that objects can have human-like emotions. This is called animism. And children also believe that objects or things in their surroundings can have intentions and human-like actions, which is called artificialism. Transductive reasoning is believing that two events are related when in reality they're not all related. And children may do this. Like, for example, if a child believes a teapot started steaming because earlier or right before it started steaming, a doll fell off a chair. So as you can imagine, children in the pre-operational stage may engage in imaginary play. They may have tea parties with their stuffed animals and talk to them and imagine that they're talking back to them. Pre-operational children engage in what's called egocentric thinking, which is the idea that everyone has the same perspective as them, or the inability to see the perspectives of others. For example, a child may think that her dad likes tea parties because she likes tea parties. The three mountain problem tests a child's ability to take perspectives of others. The child and the examiner sit on opposite sides of a model mountain. The examiner asks the child to describe her side of the mountain and then to describe the examiner's side of the mountain. If the child describes his or her side of the mountain when asked to describe the examiner's side of the mountain, then the child likely is still unable to take the perspectives of others and therefore still engages in egocentric thinking. During the pre-operational stage, children may also ask a lot of questions, especially why questions. For example, this little girl may ask, why do you have to put food on the stove every time we want to eat it? During the pre-operational stage, children can't reason, use logic, or combine more than one ideas or aspects of a problem. Children in the pre-operational stage may say the side on the right has more coins than the side on the left, even though they both have the same number of coins. Children in the pre-operational stage have trouble distinguishing between quantity and appearance. And this is one of the biggest factors between pre-operational and concrete operational. This task is one of the variations of the conservation task, which assesses whether or not a child is in the pre-operational or concrete operational stages. Stage 3 is the concrete operational stage and generally occurs when a child is between 7 and 11 years of age. Children in the concrete operational stage are able to do seriation, which means they're able to sort objects or situations according to any characteristics such as size, color, shape, or type. Children in the concrete operational stage can organize terms or concepts into groups based on their hierarchy. Children in the concrete operational stage also know what's called reversibility, meaning that an object that's maybe broken or hurt can actually be fixed and returned back to its original state. So in this example, a car that gets in a crash can be fixed and returned back to how it was before the crash. A concrete operational child can look at multiple aspects of a problem or decision. For example, if a child was choosing between two teddies, he could look at the different aspects of the teddy bear, weigh the options, and decide which teddy bear he likes best and why. Concrete operational children know transitivity, which means that they are able to put things in order based on characteristics or criteria. For example, this child was able to put fruits in alphabetical order. Children in the concrete operational stage have trouble doing what's called deductive reasoning. An example of this is if A is greater than B and B is greater than C, then we can assume that A is greater than C. But children in the concrete operational stage aren't able to put multiple facts together to draw a conclusion. The formal operational stage is from ages 11 and up and is the fourth and final stage of Piaget's theory. Children in the formal operational stage, however, are able to use deductive reasoning. So in this example, the child is able to conclude that this creature has fur, 4 legs, a tail, and it barks. It must be a dog. He's able to take all that information together and draw a conclusion. That is deductive reasoning. Children in the formal operational stage are able to take their past experiences and make predictions about the future, or test out things in their environment to help make predictions about the future. The formal operational stage also includes what's called abstract thinking, which means the child can think about different outcomes of a particular situation, the consequences of them, and be able to make a decision. So to imagine what would happen in multiple scenarios is abstract thinking. Formal operational children are also able to use what's called metacognition, which means they're able to actually think about how they are thinking, and actually, when they do that, they're able to change their thinking patterns.